There's probably not any concept across sports, but especially in the NFL, that's more blown out of proportion than the statement game. The game where you show everybody that you're here and you're real and look at us. But I think there might be some merit to that being a thing this weekend. Good afternoon to you. Good Thursday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show that comes your way every weekday afternoon. Glad to have you here. Steelers versus Browns is a 1:02 p.m. kickoff across the river at Acrisure Stadium. On its surface, and I think by the time the ball flies, it's probably going to feel like it's more about making sure that whatever it was that happened in that snow globe in Cleveland gets buried once and for all. You're going to look at the same players. You're going to see Myles Garrett's preening face. You're going to see a lot of things that you don't like. And that's what it's going to become about. And I get that. I get that, and I appreciate that. At the same time, destroy them. Okay? Like, that's not a good football team. You can say what you want about George Pickens and the places where he chooses to be careful or not careful in what it is that he says, but what he said afterward was correct. That's not a good football team. And they got lucky in some ways. They got lucky with the snow and other stuff like that. Okay, great. They also beat the Steelers, and they beat them fair and square. Get your revenge out of the way and whatever else here. But destroy them. Not because it'll move you up on the mythical power rankings and so forth. You want to talk about something that's completely irrelevant in sports, power rankings. If you ever want to do your power rankings, do your own power rankings, go find the standings, hit the sortable version where it's the entire league, and there they are. That's your power rankings. You know who's number one in football? That's right, the Detroit Lions. Why? Because they're at the top. Do it for yourselves. Destroy them for yourselves if you're the Steelers. Because after that, you know what's coming after that, but I'm going to read it off to you anyway. After that, it's at Philadelphia. That's a challenge and a half. The Eagles are very, very good. The Steelers aren't about to fill that place with yellow towels. And, if you're into this sort of thing, I'm not. They haven't won there since the mid-'60s. So I don't know who would be impacted by that, but they're probably going to hear enough about it from people in my line of work over the course of the week that it'll affect them. That's going to be a tough game against a tough opponent. After that, the Ravens, again, that's going to be decided by 2 or 3 points. Why? Because it's always decided by 2 or 3 points, because the last meeting was decided by 2 points. That's going to be here. It's going to be right before Christmas. It's going to be a Saturday. The nation's watching. It's, high octane stuff. Probably in and of itself decides the division. After that, Chiefs on Christmas Day. I don't know how many people have let that one sink in. You're wrapping presents, then unwrapping presents, and then going to the stadium at 1:00 and facing, here's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they're even ruining Taylor Swift's Christmas by having this event. But it's going to be a really, really big deal. And that, you can call me nuts now if you want to, but that might decide, depending on how Buffalo goes, who's at the top of the conference. Not necessarily one, but maybe 2 or 3, and how the seeding goes. And then, of course, you end up with the Bengals. You hope that doesn't mean anything, but you don't know that it won't mean anything. And you do know that the Bengals are going to put up points. And then there's these guys. There's these guys who are coming in here who are a bad football team, who happen to have struck gold a couple of times inside the division by beating the Ravens, by beating the Steelers. Destroy them. Destroy them and feel better about yourself going into this final stretch. Destroy them. When we come back, Chris Halleck will join us.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores, track the latest stats, chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joined now by Chris Halleck, freezing over there on the south side.
As long as the wind doesn't blow, I think I'm okay.
Okay. If you say so. I walked through some of it earlier today too, and it's got some bite to it, that's for sure.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, right? Just like that. Arthur Smith and both of the coordinators met with reporters today. And the thing that's crossing my mind more than anything else is we get closer to the game, and I'm picturing, these ugly orange helmets out there on the field. I'm picturing Myles Garrett and the damage that he did in Cleveland. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm thinking of something different because that didn't work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they tried to do more against Myles Garrett and all just horribly failed. I remember a lot of different plays. Somebody tried to chip Myles and just flat out whiffed.
Yes.
Like if you're gonna chip him, you gotta chip him. If you're gonna double team him, you gotta double team him. That stuff has to get done. And if it's not done, then you are putting Dan Moore on an island against him. And regardless of any previous success Dan has had against Garrett, it doesn't matter. Myles Garrett is still one of the best edge rushers in the league. Regardless of what anybody likes about him, doesn't like about him, he is that, and you don't want to put Dan Moore in that situation.
Well, why not? I mean, why are we overthinking this? Why do you have to chip? Here's the thing. Darnell Washington is your sixth man, okay, as he calls himself. And he does have that role at this line of scrimmage. He's going to get targeted max, absolute drop dead max 4 times for passes. And I'm purposely doing that high, okay? Most likely it'll be twice. What are you doing? If he's out there for 60, 65, whatever it is, snaps, just say, you know what? Just erase this guy. Erase him.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are also other ways to beat Myles Garrett outside of just max protection. Obviously, that is probably the primary way to do it. Get more bodies over there on him. But the Browns also run a lot of man coverage. They're up there with the leaders in the NFL in terms of running man coverage. How about receivers get open? Receivers get open quicker, because if they get open quicker, Russ can get rid of the ball quicker. And there's no better way to neutralize a pass rusher than to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds, because Myles Garrett's not going to get back there that often or that quickly that often. So how about just now? That's easier said than done. Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome are 2 really, really good cornerbacks, and Delpit's also a really good safety. So that's a challenge. It's a lot easier said than done, but that's another way to do it. They were able to do that against Cincinnati. Granted, a much worse defense in terms of man coverage, but that's another way to try to beat Myles Garrett, is to make sure guys get open so Russ can get rid of the ball and not have to stand back there.
Well, the other thing that we saw post-Cleveland, obviously, against Cincinnati was the running backs getting involved in the passing game. We also saw, I think, with our own eyes, and then to hear some of the descriptions afterward, more of Russell Wilson just being able to go up to the line of scrimmage and, to say, hey, I don't like what I see. I'm going to try something different here. Arthur Smith had quite a bit to share on this subject today. I'm going to play a little bit of it for you here.
I think we've done a pretty good job most of the year doing that, and that's what's going on the line. That's all part of a play call, and that's where you want your offense, and certainly the quarterback, and he's the one that's commanding it, to be able to see that, and to me that makes you hopefully as lethal as possible. But they're doing the same thing on the other side. Those are fascinating. I can go on forever and I won't, but those are fascinating. When you really go down and watch the tape, you see the nonverbal. You'll see it this weekend. The calls, they're trying to change their signals up. We try to change ours up. The TV tells you everything now. How you come up with code words for run, pass, whatever you're doing. It's kind of comical, because when you go back and watch the TV copy, because you got to change that week to week, some of the stuff you hear phrase saying. And that's, to me, the fascinating part of the sport.
Chris, there have been mixed messages about, whether or not quarterbacks can call things at the line. Remember when this came up with Justin Fields, it sounded like absolutely no go, no way, no how. And now that Russ is there and we're seeing him do some stuff, it's kind of telling, isn't it? That there's a little bit of a different trust level there with Arthur Smith from one quarterback to the next.
Well, there should be, because Russ has significantly more experience in this league than Justin does. Not that Justin is some sort of rookie or 2-year guy, but Russ has also been in this league long enough to have pretty much seen every coverage out there that teams can possibly throw out there, and so that's a major advantage. So use it, and I think you could hear the way Arthur Smith talked about it. He's a nerd for this kind of stuff. He loves to go into the game, as he said, the game within the game of, okay, well, they're checking the stuff, so we're going to check the stuff, and we're going to anticipate that they're going to check this when we show this, and it's just this entire chess match that he loves to get into. And he has a quarterback that can see certain stuff. Some of the stuff that Russ did against Cincinnati was world-class quarterbacking before the snap, and yes. I think you might see more of that going forward. Not saying, and this is not like Russ is seeing stuff on his own and he's going rogue. This is stuff that is pre-planned, pre-talked about, so that there are checks there. That way all 11 guys are on the same page. It's really cool stuff. Yeah.
Smith was giddy when he was telling me in Cincinnati. He said, did you notice Russ hurrying up to the line of scrimmage? And there's 20 seconds left on the play clock, and the Steelers are already lined up. But why did they do it? So that the Bengals couldn't get the personnel on the field that they wanted to, because once Russ is standing there, that's it. And he's just like, Smith is like, and that's actually really, really cool. We'll see. They have to do something, I think, significantly different than what they did up in Cleveland.